Today's notes are going to be about balanced and unbalanced forces. We're going to be directly behind the notes you did yesterday with the force and motion basics simulation. So turn in your journal to pages 2 and 3. The title of page 2 is going to be Balanced Forces. The title of page 3 is going to be Unbalanced Forces. At your table, you should also have a copy of 2 pictures. They each show two teams playing tug of war. So you're going to look at these 2 pictures and decide which do you think is representing balanced forces and which do you think is representing unbalanced forces. You'll cut them into 2 and glue them into the appropriate spot. You can push pause to do that now. The picture you should have for balanced forces shows both teams pulling with an equal amount of force. It says pulling force team 1 and pulling force team 2. If you look, the arrows are the same size and it looks like the teams are even. Nobody is winning and nobody is losing. The other picture shows a bigger force from team 2, and you can see that because the arrow is bigger. So we're going to start talking about balanced forces. Another way to say balanced is equal. So we need to always remember that when we're talking about balanced forces, that we're talking about forces that are equal. So we're going to write forces are equal. So they have the same value. In this case of the tug of war, the pulling force from team number 1 is equal to the pulling force of team number 2. As we talked about yesterday, and as you saw in the PhET simulation, forces determine an object's motion. So when the forces are balanced, the motion stays the same. So we're going to write motion stays the same. That's our key word there. Okay. Think that equal means the same, and here the motion is staying the same. So when we have equal forces, the motion stays the same. So if it's not moving, it's going to continue to be not moving. So if no motion, it stays still. If an object is already in motion, it continues to move if the forces are equal. If in motion, it stays moving. At the same, there's our key word again. It moves at the same speed and direction. Sorry. So if it's moving, it continues to move the same speed, the same direction. If the forces are equal, nothing about the motion is going to change. When an object is moving at the same speed and the same direction, we call that constant. So write that beneath same speed and direction. I want you to think about other examples of balanced forces besides the tug-of-war example that's already at the top of the page. So if you think of any sports activities, any cars driving or stopping, or any of the examples that you saw in yesterday's online simulation, you're going to come up with 2 examples of balanced forces, and you're going to draw and label those at the bottom of the page. So we're going to write examples of balanced forces, and then you can divide your page into 2. So you'll draw and label one here, and draw and label one here. You can go ahead and hit pause while you draw those pictures. Now we're going to move on to the unbalanced forces on page 3. So you see in the tug-of-war picture that unbalanced means uneven or unequal. The team on the right, team number 2, is pulling with a greater force, so it's not equal to the force of team number 1. So with unbalanced forces, we can say that forces are unequal. It's going to be a key word for unbalanced forces. That means they're not the same, they're not equal, they are unequal. In our video yesterday in the online simulation, you saw that unbalanced forces change an object's motion. So we're going to write here that motion changes. Changes now is our key word. When we have unbalanced forces on an object, the motion of that object changes. So if the object is moving, unbalanced forces can cause it to stop. If moving, it can stop. If it's already at a stop, it can start moving. So if you have a soccer ball that's sitting on the ground and you go up and apply a force by kicking, it would start moving. If stopped, it can start moving. Unbalanced forces can also change how an object is moving, even if it's already moving. It can cause it to speed up, it can cause it to slow down, or it could cause it to turn and change direction. It can speed up, slow down, and or turn. When an object changes its speed, when it speeds up and goes faster, or it slows down and goes slower, we call that acceleration. Just like on page 2, you're going to come up with your own examples of unbalanced forces. I want you to think again about sports or driving or anything that you see in everyday life, except for the tug-of-war example we already have on the page. And then I want you to draw and label 2 examples of unbalanced forces. You can pause the video while you draw. When you are finished with all of the notes and drawings on page 2 and 3, be sure you go back to your Unit 4 table of contents and make sure it's updated with pages 1, 2, and 3.